Okay, how's everybody doing today? And my name is Kent. The channel is Bitcoin Believer. Let me see if I got I'll turn my comments on if you'd like to make a comment. Um, it's in the afternoon. It's actually 5:12 here p.m. in the afternoon here in San Diego, California. I'm in San Diego and it is December 16th. And I decided to go live today. Crypto Feet wanted me to go live, so I decided to go live. So I titled this that the greatest opportunity that most people are going to miss. I can't remember exactly what I called it, but something close to that. So if you haven't figured this out yet, what I'm trying to tell people is that you're going to miss. In fact, I think 99.9% of the people are going to miss this, which is the opportunity of a lifetime, in my opinion. And I'm not a young guy. I'm 63 years old. The opportunity of a lifetime to invest in something that has incredible potential right now, and that's the purchase of any amount of Bitcoin, even though the price is $42,000, as you can see on screen. When my son first started buying Bitcoin way back in 2014, 15, it was $300. And I remember him telling me one day that he didn't want to buy it at $300 because that had gone up extreme from where he'd saw it when he first got involved, which was probably maybe 200, 210, 220. And it went up to 300 and he was like really agonizing over whether he should buy any Bitcoin at $300. It's 42,155 today. So even though it's down a little bit today, anybody that thinks this is a price that's too rich for their blood, it just goes up. I mean, the reason it goes up is because it's such a limited supply, 21 million. And and I've been in Bitcoin 10 years. When I realized the news happening today, and I did research this a little bit more about the ETF, I think it's almost 100% the ETF is going to happen. They're talking about a lot of the minor details of the ETF, an exchange traded fund. If you don't know what that means, it means that ETF means that right now in Bitcoin, there's a number of ways to custody Bitcoin, hold Bitcoin. You can self-custody in your own digital wallet, or you can buy it through somebody that will hold the Bitcoin for you, like Coinbase or Binance or somebody like that. But most people that are in Bitcoin right now understand, a little bit more about it than the average person. So the retail customers never come into Bitcoin. The retail people, the people that would put it in their IRA, the people that would buy it because it's on a stock exchange or a ticker symbol, they have not entered yet. They're still on the sideline and they're waiting to come in because that's what the ETF is. It's allowing them access to this kind of closed market that nobody else has really been involved with, because most of them don't like it or understand it or think that it's been a scam or people have lost money in it, which that's true. So they just stay away. But now it's become a little bit more mainstream, and the ETFs will happen based on what I'm hearing from the Security and Exchange Commission going back and forth. They're arguing about minor details, like one of the things they're arguing about right now is an accounting issue. And one of the accounting issues is they're arguing about is in kind or like kinds of as it relates to accounting terminology, like kind. So in other words, these funds like ARK Fund, they're holding a lot of Bitcoin right now. Now, if they retail it to the customer and the customer buys what they're holding in inventory, there may be a taxable event there, because that's moving from ARK to the retail customer. So what they want, like ARK would want, which is Kathy Woods, they want to have it in kind. So we can offer you the ETF and it would be the same as the Bitcoin that we're holding. So we'd be able to exchange the two, one for the other, without having a taxable event, which means taxes. Anytime you have a taxable event where something is being sold or something, you're going to have to realize the capital gain on that. I don't want to go into this because this is a lot more detailed than a lot of people want to think about. A lot of people have a hard time just understanding Bitcoin, let alone now getting into the accounting of how it's held on the balance sheet or how it's held in a books. Also, they're talking about how it's held within company as far as treasury stock is concerned. But the main issue is in kind. So you want something, and of course the Security and Exchange Commission does not want to allow in kind, meaning that if you do move it from ARK's holdings to a customer that buys the ETF, there will be a taxable event for the ARK investment ETF because they're moving Bitcoin from one place to another place, from their holdings to a retail customer, and they don't want to have that happen because that's a lot of taxes for them. So that's the kind of stuff they're talking about. They wouldn't be talking about this kind of stuff if it wasn't going to happen. It's going to happen. That's the kind of stuff they're talking about. Yeah, and the reason people don't want to really think too much about Bitcoin is because of guys like this Bankman-Fried dude. I got a kick out of this. BlackRock revises BTC filing. El Salvador's crypto citizenship trending. If you own $1 million worth of Bitcoin, you automatically get citizenship to El Salvador. More hodlers digest December 10th and 16th. But back to Sam Bankman-Fried, I thought this was an interesting article. It says the lawyer is responsible for Sam Bankman-Fried. If you don't know who he is, let me pull him up real quick. He's the guy that scammed a lot of people with FTX, including Tom Brady and I think Shaquille O'Neal and a bunch of other sports celebrities. They all got sued over the guy because he was scamming. So this is Bankman-Fried. And of course, his defense when he just absconded with billions and billions of dollars was that I didn't know. I was just being, a good guy, and I was trying to meet all the demands of my company, and I was just doing the best I could. But, all these little details were kind of like I wasn't paying attention, or I had other things on my mind, and, I was doing what I was supposed to be doing, but I just didn't, more or less an ignorance defense. Anybody knows ignorance is not a defense, but that's the defense he basically took. I didn't know. I did the best I could for my limited understanding of it is I did the best I could. And I thought this was interesting what this lawyer responded back in. First of all, don't ever put your hands on a lawyer's. So the lawyer's response for Sam Bankman-Fried's criminal trial defense has admitted that the case was almost impossible to win. Okay, from the outset. During the interview, Stanford law professor David Mills said he recommended the legal defense of Sam Bankman-Fried admit to the allegations of witnesses and state prosecution and convince the jury that Bankman-Fried intended to save the company. Mills also disclosed that he had to agree to lend his expertise for Bankman-Fried's defense at the behest of the FTX CEO's parents. Now, I don't know how his parents came out on this because they were heavily involved too, but they're both lawyers, I think from Stanford, and described Sam Bankman-Fried as the worst person I've ever seen do a cross-examination. So when the prosecution was examining him, he basically didn't. He was a horrible witness. So he just cooked his own goose. But anyway, this got a lot of publicity. This is why people are staying away. And this is why some people are going to miss one of the biggest opportunities in my time. Like I say, I'm 63 years old. I was a stockbroker. I was around during the tech days when the internet was just coming online. It was the 1990s, and the tech stocks were just going crazy. That's when a guy like this guy right here, who I call Frankenstein, if I can even, I think it's, I just cannot stand this guy. It just, every time I pull up his picture, it just so nauseates me. Mark Cuban. And the reason Mark Cuban irritates me so much is because this guy has basically come up with one of the worst ideas you could ever come up with, which is he loved internet. He loved basketball. He was from Indiana. He was a basketball freak. So he decided, since he couldn't listen to his basketball games from wherever he was living, I think in Dallas, because he was a computer salesman down there, he decided to just go ahead and put it online. So it's like we're taking steps backwards now. The internet was getting past television and radio, and now we're interconnecting computers online. He took the idea called broadcast.com and regressed from the internet back to radio, where we're just putting radio on the internet, which was a bad idea. Early days of the internet, we had 28K modems. We didn't have much streaming. It was very slow, but he tried to do it. It didn't work very well. But Yahoo, and I just, even if I see Yahoo today, anything from Yahoo News or anything, I ignore it, because Yahoo actually bought this guy out for a few $1 billion. He becomes, one of the richest men on the face of the earth with a lousy idea that didn't even last for a few years after Yahoo bought it. And it was reported by Forbes to be one of the worst business decisions of all time. So now this guy sets in judgment of other people's ideas, and he had one of the worst ideas you can imagine. Didn't even last forever. He sold it for a few $billions, and it wasn't even a viable company. It didn't even last. It didn't even work. Just he had a few subscribers, and everybody was so intent on getting subscribers at that time, or getting followers or eyeballs, that he just jumped on the bandwagon, sold it for and now he's worth 6.2 billion. I don't know how much he sold that broadcast.com for. Let's see. Then he had a partner in it too, I think. But I've done some of the research. But anyway, this guy, he's just irritates me. He just nauseates me. Like I say, he looks like Frankenstein. I don't think I. So you got this guy who went up and was cross-examined by the prosecutor, did a lousy job, said, I don't know, just pretended like he was really uneducated as far as the, what he was doing. I mean, FTX was also being the custodial for the Bitcoin they held, and they were borrowing it to run the other operation, and he was commingling things, and it was a big mess. And he claimed he didn't know what was going on, which, like his lawyer said, he made a horrible witness, and and he'll probably spend the rest of his life in jail. So he's done. He's out of there. So that is, and of course, El Salvador is using Bitcoin as their currency right now. So we'll see how that works out. And if you really want to see a mess, a global mess, a mess of proportions that none of us here can understand, look at Argentina, what's going on in Argentina right now. I'm not going to go into that, but they have a president that is, now he's backing their currency with the U.S. currency, the U.S. dollar. But let me see if I can find something on those guys. Oh, now you got, is this Bitcoin ETFs debate. Are in-kind transactions better than for tax efficiency? That's what I just talked about. In a recent podcast, Bloomberg analyst suggests Jesse decoded the complexities of spot Bitcoin exchange for trader front, unraveling the nuance that makes these instruments unique inside of focus in-kind and cash transactions while exploring their impact on tax efficiencies, a key factor that separates ETFs from mutual funds. See, I always just think of an ETF as a mutual fund, but I guess there's little subtleties that are different. But we have literally money coming in. They've already rounded up the money. It's being held, and they're just waiting for this ETF to happen. When the ETF happens, the retail market will come into Bitcoin. One of the greatest opportunities for the ordinary investor there has ever been, and that's what this title of this is. It's just, and people are going to miss it because they just don't get it. And I understand what the deal is. The deal is probably, hey, I'd like to buy Bitcoin, but I just don't have any money. And I understand that dilemma. But I listened to a guy in 2020. His name is Da Vinci. I think I've talked about him before. He's on YouTube. I don't think he's on there anymore because he made so much money in Bitcoin. He doesn't make content anymore. But anyway, the guy sold his house to buy Bitcoin. And I remember when I watched that video, I said, man, this guy is hardcore. He's selling his home to buy Bitcoin. And I thought that was really, really, somebody that was more than I would have done. Of course, I got a train coming through again. We live in Southern California, and right along the beach, there's a train track that comes through here, I think 10 times a day, maybe more than that, 20 times a day. It's really annoying, especially when you're trying to make videos. And even when I'm in the street, sometimes but anyway, it goes through pretty quick. You get used to it. But anyway, back to what the video title was about. This is an opportunity that very few people are going to take advantage of because they're just going to miss it. And by the time BlackRock buys up a tremendous amount of Bitcoin and holds it, because they have a lot of money, and the other, it's going to be too late for the person to really get the appreciations that they should get, which this thing could go to 80,000 really quick. It's at 42,000 right now. So you could see a double here very soon. Well, probably very soon. Very, very, very soon. I hate to put a specific number on it because you don't know, but it's going to happen very soon, especially with the retail market. It's almost like something right now is wholesale. It's to a limited number of people. Now it's going to be released to the public. So Bitcoin, even though it's gone up as much as it's gone up, it still hasn't hit the mainstream. And when it hits the mainstream, it's going to be a tremendous investment opportunity. I also added in this title of this this is the best opportunity I've ever seen in my life. And the worst thing I've ever done in my life as far as investment was concerned is education. I know a lot of people are going to say, what? You think education's a bad idea? Yes, I do. I think education's a horrible idea. I went all the way through my undergraduate, uh, went through law school, not all the way through, but went to law school. I went back and picked up an accounting degree and all this stuff. And in my mind, I could have learned it all very easily by myself online if I would have just, like I taught myself a lot of other things online, to program, to speak Spanish, all these things I taught myself. I didn't go to school for any of that stuff. And I didn't spend the money, the time, and the resources going to school. So going to school to me is the worst investment you can possibly make. If you're going to school right now, you really got to evaluate yourself, because going to school, most people go to school when they're younger. That's when they have the most energy. That's when they're the smartest. That's when they have, the least obligations. They don't have families. They don't have kids. They don't have all the other things that are hard to, to manage while you're going to school. You're not encumbered when you're young like that, and you waste those years in school and doing something that I think you could do very easily with all the technology we have today by just studying yourself on your own. So the best opportunity I've ever seen is Bitcoin. The worst opportunity I've ever seen is education. So take it for whatever it is. That's my opinion. So I'm late in the day here with this podcast, or this thing. I'm up to 16 minutes already. So I'm going to go ahead and sign off because it is Saturday and I've got a few things I need to do before the end of the evening. So I appreciate you watching. Thank you very much.